This is a crazy one. Our friend Max Blumenthal had the article on this. Kash Patel's girlfriend files $5 million lawsuit against podcaster for insinuation she's a Mossad honeypot. Wow. She must be a handful, because you had, Patel tweet in defense of her. She seems very needy. Are we allowed to say that? That's just my opinion. My opinion is that she comes off as needy. I'm not saying as a fact she is needy, because if I said that as a fact, they could come for us. I'm saying, based on what we're reading, she seems like a needy person. That's what she seems like. She seems like she needs him to defend her a lot, because he does. And you would think, as FBI director, he would have more important things to do, like bust the Epstein ring, than to defend his girlfriend, whoever she is. So Max writes, the wind was at Kash Patel's back in the early months of 2023. It was during this period that the Trump-aligned legal operative met Alexis Wilkins, then a 24-year-old wannabe country music star who would become his girlfriend, and launched his foundation, Fight with Kash, which pledged to unite America First patriots to fight the deep state. Ha ha. With the telegenic Wilkins by his side, Patel seemed to be living out the quixotic storyline of the children's book he had co-authored a year earlier, The Plot Against the King, in which a fairy tale hero named Knight Kash embarks on a spree of revenge against the enemies of King Donald. But almost 3 years later, Patel's tenure as FBI director appears to be unraveling in a series of embarrassing congressional testimonies and public meltdowns related to his suppression of Jeffrey Epstein's client list. Patel recently activated his legal network to fire back against his most voracious critics. However, the targets of his wrath are not deep state liberals or anyone resembling the Hillary Queenstown villain from his children's book, but the most ideologically zealous voices of the America First movement, whom he's accused of slandering his girlfriend. Quote, the disgustingly baseless attacks against Alexis, a true patriot and the woman I'm proud to call my partner in life since 2 years ago, are beyond pathetic, Patel complained on Twitter X on November 2nd, 2025. Attacking her isn't just wrong, it's cowardly and jeopardizes our safety. Yeah, somebody who was at the Bureau for like 27 years, I think, got fired over protesting about his use of the private jet, the FBI jet, to go to her concert. Yeah, we did a whole segment on that. That's what prompted this tweet, which we read in a previous segment. That's the one that Max is alluding to here in the article. 5 days earlier, the law firm of Jesse Binal, Patel's personal lawyer and chair of his foundation, filed a bizarre lawsuit accusing right-wing podcaster Elijah Schaffer of having perpetuated a malicious lie about Alexis Wilkins, falsely claiming that she, an American-born country singer, is an agent of a foreign government assigned to manipulate and compromise the director. Okay, so as we get into the details of this, I just want to plant a flag while I read that, because this lawsuit is being brought by Patel's personal lawyer and the chair of his foundation, which means this is essentially a proxy lawsuit. Right? It would be too on the nose for the FBI director to sue the podcaster. But his girlfriend is technically, I guess, the plaintiff in the suit, even though this is clearly coming from King Kash, or Knight Kash himself. It's King Donald and Knight Kash. Sorry. I've got to be accurate here when describing the fantastical children's book. Yeah, exactly. I stand corrected. The suit also took aim at Schaffer because he frequently posts anti-Israel rhetoric, accusing Israel of controlling the United States and its politicians. Binal did not respond to a request for comment from the Gray Zone. So yeah, here's taken from the actual lawsuit. Defendant frequently posts anti-Israel rhetoric, accusing Israel of controlling the United States and its politicians. So they screenshot, as part of the legal document, Trump doesn't want to admit that Netanyahu doesn't fear him. Israel has more control over the USA than we do over them. That's actually evidence in a lawsuit. Yeah, you read that right.
It sounds like free speech.
Yeah, sounds like a real free speech administration they're running here. Schaffer rose to online prominence during the Biden era by rallying right-wing opposition to Antifa and BLM activists. On January 6, 2021, he embedded among rioters into the U.S. Capitol and photographed the home screen on Nancy Pelosi's office computer. Schaefer's commentary continues to outrage his opponents on the left while advancing the ethos and objectives of MAGA. Now he is among a growing cast of America First influencers facing an aggressive legal assault waged from within Trump's inner circle. So this guy is as loyal gets to Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, and they're coming after him anyway. The podcaster's alleged offense was quote tweeting a single photo of the FBI director arm in arm with Wilkins, who was clad in a red cocktail dress, above a separate tweet referencing honeypot operations by Israel's Mossad. In fact, numerous Twitter X users had posted an identical photo to make precisely the same joke about Wilkins and Patel, invoking an unsubstantiated theory that had been reverberating across the internet for months. Wilkins is seeking $5 million in damages from Schaefer for the seemingly humorous social media post. So, yeah, to sum up what this is, this was the original tweet, and I cut out a lot of the text just to make it compact so it fits in a graphic so you can get what we're talking about. This isn't the entire tweet, but this is the gist of it. There's a tweet from Hen Mazik. Mossad sent female operatives deep into Iran, seducing top officials, infiltrating government surveillance networks, and carrying out sabotage missions. So Schaefer quote tweeted this with this. That's it. That's literally the tweet. Like, clearly a fucking joke. And not only is it a joke, there's not even any words. It's just clearly like a barb, like a troll. Like, that's obvious. And by the way, it is completely legal to speculate that she is an Israeli honeypot. So even if you weren't joking, they'd have no lawsuit. Like, you want to fuck the FBI director, it comes with a degree of like scrutiny about who the hell you are, especially since this guy, like everybody else in this administration, seems bizarrely slavish to Israel. But that's not even what this guy was talking about. That's literally the basis of the lawsuit, is the fact that he trolled them by putting that picture on this post in the form of a quote tweet. That's it. Schaefer's lawyer, Onir Lopez, told The Gray Zone he's never seen a lawsuit like this, describing it as a textbook slap suit or strategic lawsuit against public participation. It's very troubling when government officials' girlfriends are suing members of the media for posting third-party comments, he said. Yeah, I'd say so. Lopez describes his client's tweet as an opinion clearly protected by the First Amendment. If you're the director of the FBI, you're holding the nation's secrets and national intelligence, and we should be skeptical about your relationships, especially if it's an uncommitted relationship like a girlfriend, he commented. It's perfectly fine to raise questions, and Elijah didn't even do that. No, he joked. He trolled. So here is Elijah Schaefer responding to the lawsuit. This is a long video, 14 minutes. We're just going to watch the first couple minutes of his response.
Received concerning news that I was being Over the weekend, I received concerning news that I was being sued for $5 million by Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. And the reason why might actually shock you. About a couple months ago, I posted this photo on the public social media platform X. I posted it with no caption, no suggestions of any malintent or any slander, defamation, or criticisms of character. I did so attached to an X post shared by another account that I'm not connected to that talked about government agents being compromised. Now Alexis Wilkins is saying that I owe her $5 million for damages, the exact evaluation of my company, and if I cannot come up with that money, that I'm going to have to shut down my business, give up all of my digital assets and my entire voice online in order to pay her back. So why does Kash Patel's girlfriend want to silence me? Well, it comes down to the lawsuit itself. Before anyone jumps to conclusions and says, well, don't say that she's a honeypot, I'd like to say, I never did. I never would. I never felt like suggesting that, never even suggested that in my own head. So why am I being sued for something I never did? To give proof of that, in section 14 of the lawsuit, it states, while the defendant may not have included any caption to spell out the meaning of his post, he didn't have to. Ever since Kash Patel was appointed as director of the FBI in February of 2025, the conspiratorial corners of the internet and social media have been spreading false narratives about Miss Wilkins as an Israeli Mossad agent, spy, or quote, honeypot, who is only in the relationship with Kash Patel to spy on and manipulate the United States government. Defendant's wordless reply, it goes on to say. So to clarify, before we go any further, if you post a public photo of a government official and his romantic partner, who he's not married to, a very important fact we'll talk about. You, as a private citizen or a member of the press, can be bankrupted, have your entire company shut down, or completely mocked, slandered, and dragged through lawfare because of what? Because of your First Amendment protected rights.
Yeah, of course. I hope this guy hired the law firm FA and FO to represent him, because got to say, man, like, I'm with you here, but this is kind of what you get when you get in bed with these people. Like, we tried warning you about this, and
where's his "This is what I voted for" shirt?
Yeah, where's his "This is what I voted for" shirt? Exactly. Like, look, I'm with you. And all MAGA, take note. You see how, like, we do segments like this defending the free speech rights of people whose politics we probably can't stand. That's what you have to do for the pro-Palestine people, or else you're a free speech hypocrite. You see how you need solidarity for free speech, or else there's no point defending free speech, right? If you're only defending free speech when it suits your immediate short-term political ends, then you're not actually doing it. But all that notwithstanding, obviously this guy is being singled out and persecuted, and that is absolutely horrible. The Patriot Voice says Kash is acting like the government gangsters he once wrote about. Exactly. This guy wrote a book called Government Gangsters. Yes. And now you're trying to bankrupt. I mean, look, this lawsuit is a joke. It's going to get thrown out, but he's still making the guy's life hell. I mean, he's still, this guy's still going to have to spend money on lawyers and time and live with this uncertainty for God knows, however many months or years this drags out. Like, you're still harassing the guy like a gangster would. Like a government gangster would. You're using the government the way a gangster would to intimidate people from making jokes about your girlfriend. This is full-blown authoritarianism and government tyranny. Absolutely. No question. Stu Peters writes, Kash Patel will not use FBI to release Epstein files, use the FBI to find Charlie Kirk's real assassin. Kash Patel will weaponize the FBI and target Americans who criticize Israel and or his girlfriend. This entire administration is a joke. Yes, it is. An absolute joke. And this was foreseeable. This is who this man is. This is a crazy person. This is an insane person. This is not a serious person. Look at this. I mean, I would say this is unbelievable, but it's really not. Like, if you asked me at the beginning of this administration, would he do a thing like this if someone pissed him off in the wrong way? I'd say, yeah, he probably would. Because this is the guy you're talking about. So there you have it. Obviously, a horrible abuse of power. But this is why we tried to warn you about shit like this.
Yeah. On that, when this administration came in, it's very often pointed out how the corporate media will take absolutely horrible positions and then never take any responsibility for them. Once they're proven wrong, they just pretend they never said those things. After the election, when there was this whole conversation around we are the media now, we tried to talk about that, like, hey, well, if we're the media now, don't we have a responsibility to be accurate? I understand it can be difficult. The nature of these shows is kind of, let's face it, it grew more out of the cable news opinion journalism than it did out of Ed or Murrow or Walter Cronkite, the presumption that we do shows like this and we're just going to do the straight news and read it. So I get how it can be difficult to get caught up in the moment. But nonetheless, if we are the media now, I think people in this space have a responsibility when you got a crazy-eyed motherfucker who wrote a children's book casting himself as a knight protecting Donald Trump, the wizard. I think you have responsibility to do a little due diligence and not gas people up about how this guy's going to come in and get rid of all the people that you hate and make them suffer. I think you have a responsibility to look at the obvious. It's not like you needed to go to the Library of Congress and go through files. It was very obvious this guy was a fucking insane lunatic who was going to just serve Donald Trump first, foremost, and always. That was his priority. The man wrote a children's book about King Donald. What does that tell you about how he sees Trump in relation to himself? That's my king. Is that really who you want as director of the FBI? In his hearings, he lied. He lied. He said he didn't know who a podcaster was whose podcast he went on 8 times. Like that didn't tip you off of who this guy was. Even his book, Government Gangsters. I did my due diligence. I listened. I didn't read it. I listened to it during planes. I can't remember where I was going at the time. I think Seattle, maybe. And yeah, man, he talks about some of the legitimate problems of the deep state and then attributes it all to Democrats. What did that tell you? What did that tell you? Like, if you actually read that book, that this guy's vision of reform is basically partisan warfare, that he does not have a systemic critique. He has a partisan critique, which just makes him much more like a Fox anchor in charge of the FBI than a guy who's actually going to go in there and reform it. And same thing with Tulsi. Oh, you're surprised now that Tulsi is a hypocrite who just does what's convenient for her politically? Who could have seen that coming? Yeah, I think this is a teachable moment for a lot of people in this space, many of whom are friends of ours or whose work we appreciate in general, who got very caught up in the moment, particularly people who had really strong feelings about Russiagate, because Kash Patel kind of made his name on Russiagate. If you're the media, if we are truly the media now, you have a responsibility, man. You have a fucking responsibility not to gas people up about obvious crackpots, criminals, and whores like Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard. As you say, all this was very predictable. What are we, a fucking tour guide and a food delivery driver? We were screaming this from the rooftops at the time. You know, maybe we didn't take it as personally. We weren't Russiagated personally, but nonetheless, I like to think that we would not let that get in the way of our personal feelings. And again, we're all human. I hope it's a teachable moment. I hope it's a teachable moment. I hope at another moment like this, should there be another moment like this, you're not going to see so many people who should know better screaming, yeah, you see what they did to the USAID? You see?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
like that can be true.
Right.
And at the same time, these people can be up to no good. And a lot of people were saying at the time, you know, they're getting rid of these very visible things that the USAID does. When you look at who these guys are, they're more likely to get rid of the food aid and keep the deep state shit that you're against than they're really getting rid of the things that you're against.
I want a good catch by Stoopsign, because I misspoke. I said they singled this guy out. There are actually other people who they're going after. Yeah. So FBI director's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, isn't only suing Elijah Schaffer, but also suing Kyle Seraphin and Sam Parker for sharing a similar meme about Alexis being a honeypot. Thank you for that, Stoopsign.
Please clap.